In 2024 America, most of us have the same run-of-the-mill retailers to choose from: Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, or perhaps Best Buy. While these are and have been almost everywhere without much other choices or major competition for quite a while now, there used to be quite a mix of choices for the American consumer that would, for a time, compete with and coexist with the major chains. This, though, would not last, and would result in an era of major change within retail. This is the late 90s and early 2000s retail apocalypse. In early 1990s America, retail was heavily regionalized. Walmart was mostly a Southern and Middle America company, and Target was spread out, small, and not in many major American metros. Chains such as Ames and Hills would dominate the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Midwest, while chains such as Bradley's and Caldor would dominate the Northeast, with some competition and crossover in between. What you would consider a national company today was simply rare. There were some, such as Sears or Kmart, but it was nothing compared to what was to come. The best comparison of retail in the 1990s to today would be that of grocery stores. Chains such as Publix or Giant Eagle may dominate a given region in the United States, but are not national companies. It was much like this with retail in the 1990s and before. This regionalization of retail worked for a long time, even with the existence of some major national chains. However, by the 90s, something new and unprecedented would begin to occur: the mass national expansion of multiple retailers all at once. Walmart and Sam's Club, already at over 1,500 locations by 1990, would make a major push into the highly populated northeastern United States. Throughout the decade, countless locations in territory dominated by chains such as Ames, Hills, Bradley's, and Caldor would be opened by Walmart, all while Target would expand into major metros such as Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and others. And it wouldn't just be in general retail that this would occur either. National retailers in specific segments such as electronics and home improvement would go on massive expansions as well, covering much of the country. Stores such as Lowe's, Home Depot, Toys R Us, Kohl's, Best Buy, GameStop, and others would go on massive expansions, fueled by heavy investment, sales, and strong brand identity. Hundreds upon hundreds of stores would be opened by these chains throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s. And it would not just put the squeeze on the smaller regional chains, but also larger, longer standing, and more national ones, such as Woolworths and Kmart. Some would even try to join forces to try to stem the flow of competition, as Ames would purchase Zehrs in the early 1990s and Hills in the later 1990s. This tactic would not be particularly successful though, as financial issues and store closures would occur around or shortly after these acquisitions. It would be from 1997 to 2002 that would be the end for many companies. It was during this period that stores like Woolworth, Caldor, Ames, Hetchinger Hardware, Bradley's, and Montgomery Ward would all go out of business. It would be the end of one era and the beginning of another, one that is continued through today, where most major chains are not just regional places to shop, but are almost everywhere with a significant population in the US. So why did this happen? Why was it that these companies could essentially squash much of the smaller competition? Well, the answer is quite simple, really, and that's that they were just better, and in more ways than one. Most of them could beat out the competition in price, selection, convenience, and atmosphere. They also weren't carrying histories of bad financial issues with them. Most of the companies from 97 to 2002 that closed did, whether it be bankruptcies, massive store closures, or acquisitions of companies that really weren't that valuable in the first place. The rise of retail in certain segments also didn't help. Why go to a general retail store for something if you were almost guaranteed to have a better selection at a store that specialized in something, like electronics? Ultimately, in the end, stores like Walmart, Target, Kohl's, Best Buy, and others were new, convenient, cheap, and had selections unlike ever seen before. And it would be no different in hardware either, with Lowe's and Home Depot essentially taking over America in the large hardware store chain business. seeing an end to chains like Builders Square and Hetchinger. The addition of hundreds upon hundreds of stores by multiple chains at once was not sustainable. Someone would have to go, and many chains in this era did. These companies wouldn't be able to bail themselves out with loans either, as the relatively high interest rates of the late 90s and early 2000s would make taking on more debt expensive and impractical. There would be no comeback from a downturn as there had been in the past for some of these companies, as hundreds of retail stores would close from 97 to 02, and tens of thousands of retail employees would lose their jobs. And while it would take much longer and happen well after this era, many of the big national chains would beat out other national chains that were big in the 90s, such as Kmart and Sears. And while it may seem like certain national retailers have dominated America forever, there was a time where they didn't, if not at least in a given area. Thank you for watching.